This is an electric car with 408 horsepower and an 8-speed gearbox. Except it isn't. It's all software. The question is, has Lexus added consequence back into the EV driving experience or built the most expensive side quest in the segment? Press the M mode button and the cabin fills with this low frequency rumble, which I think is this car's way of saying the rules have changed. Start driving and the sound shifts away from fake engine note to something that I can only describe as a competition gearbox whine. Yeah, virtual gears hold all the way to redline and it forces you to shift manually. And on a back road drive, this system all works because in the corners, you can use these gears to help manage weight transfer. It's less complete than what Hyundai does with the Ioniq 5N and Ioniq 6N, but it's more than a gimmick. You won't use it all the time, but you will use it when the road earns it. Oh, and the paddle shifters actually do double duty here. In normal drive mode, they manage the level of regenerative braking. In M mode, they're shifting virtual gears, so either they're managing energy recovery or simulating a gearbox, but never both. 0 to 60 of 4.1 seconds is more than respectable for 408 horsepower and 4,600 pounds. Perhaps more importantly, it accelerates quickly at highway speeds, and this dual motor RZ is never short of acceleration. It's more progressive than it is brutal, which is right on point with the character of this Lexus. Apparently, this all-wheel drive system starts with a front axle bias, and then it'll distribute torque rearward as conditions allow. It's stable off the line and has impressive traction in any condition. At low speeds with more maximal throttle settings, you do get the occasional tug at the wheel of torque steer showing up, but it's only in those extreme instances when that happens, and most owners will never experience. In practice, in the real world, traction is just impeccable, and the way this puts down power is impressive. Even when the traction and stability control systems show up, they're subtle. There's no upset to the chassis, and the only reminder that something's actually happening with those systems is a gentle flash of light on the instrument cluster. And overall, those systems just feel like a competent co-driver. For drive modes, there's normal, sport, eco, and range. And in range mode, torque distribution is locked 50 front, 50 rear, which is probably Lexus's way of telling us that engagement costs energy. For 2026, there's an NACS port built right into this RZ, which gives you access to Tesla's superchargers. The onboard charger is now 11 kilowatts instead of 7, and Lexus quotes DC fast charging of 10% to 80% in about 30 minutes. Subscribers get notified when new episodes go live. Everyone else depends on the algorithm. If you want to know when new episodes drop on this channel, well, that's what the subscribe button does. This episode is powered by Joule. The station behind me is at a Longo's supermarket, which tells you how Joule thinks about deployment. Battery-integrated chargers at shopping centers, supermarkets like this, places where you're already spending 20 minutes. The Joule Hub charges from the building's existing infrastructure and then delivers up to 350 kilowatts to the car. No utility upgrade, no construction timelines measured in years, and demand charges that don't punish the site for hosting a charger. For the driver, tap your card, charge while you shop, no account required. Joule is Canadian built and expanding across Canada and the US. Visit joulepower.com. The steering does all the administrative parts correctly. Turn-in response is immediate, it's precise, it's well-weighted, it's strong on center. What it doesn't tell you is anything interesting. You turn in, it complies, but that front axle remains emotionally unavailable. There are no adaptive dampers here, so no matter what the drive mode, they do not alter the ride. But what Lexus did for 2026 is add some structural bracing, and that you can feel. The chassis communicates weight transfer and body roll, and the dampers do an excellent job with body and wheel control. Even mid-corner bumps don't upset this. It feels planted in a way no luxury EV SUV should, and Lexus went for composure here instead of outright sporting intent with the suspension calibrations. It's buttoned down without becoming harsh, which is exactly what a Lexus buyer wants, but it's not quite aggressive enough to satisfy the expectations of a BMW M or AMG owner. Ground clearance is crossover adequate, but the battery in the floor gives the RZ a real advantage. And sure, you can feel the mass, but this stays flat in the corners. With braking, the first initial part of the brake pedal is a little bit soft, but then it firms right up and delivers precise modulation. Almost as important as brake feel is the handoff between regenerative braking, and there is zero awkwardness that you might expect in the typical hybrid or EV. There are 4 levels of regenerative braking. The maximum level is still not quite a true one-pedal drive mode, and I wish it was. I'd really appreciate that. ABS intervention is a little bit late, and when you get into full ABS, this stops confidently. And I don't think I've experienced a Lexus whose brake pedal I didn't like. And I have to mention the turning radius is very short. This is exceptionally maneuverable, especially in parking lots. And for racers like me who have trouble with parking, it is wonderful. If you want to support the channel beyond just watching, the merch store is open, and your support there helps fund more episodes like this and keeps us a little less dependent on industry access. No pressure, just an option. The interface fundamentals are very good. You sit relatively low in the chassis, and these seats are incredible. They're supportive in the corners, they're comfortable over long distances. Of course, they're heated and cooled here as well, but I really like these seats. The quality of Lexus interiors never disappoint, and the materials here are top-notch. The details from the laser-etched door panels to the checkered console finish to the fantastic lighting that's best experienced at night feel considered instead of just ornamental. There are some trade-offs here, however. One of them is the glass roof, and it's just begging for a shade. There are 2 levels of opacity, but I think on a bright, hot summer's day, you might be a little annoyed by it. As well, the traditional glove box that would be here has been sacrificed for a knee heater. Very premium, slightly impractical. The big touchscreen is a quality piece. Resolution is excellent. It's visible in all kinds of lighting conditions. I use it on wireless CarPlay, and I'm very happy that way. Access to some of the secondary controls are easy. Just tap that button. You've got drive modes, climate control, heads-up display. Everything you could want is within easy reach. There's a real volume knob, real temperature dials, and the fact that those things still count tells you how far industry standards have fallen. Both the heads-up display and the instrument cluster are clear, give me all the information I could want, and none of this technology gets in the way of the driving experience. Now, I love these digital rear view camera mirrors, but the placement of the lens on this RZ is interesting. It's actually placed low, and the view of the car behind you makes it look as if it's being filmed for evidence. One anecdote, for me, these doors seem hard to close with just moderate effort, and it seems like this cabin is perfectly airtight. And depending on your perspective, that's either a daily annoyance or excellent construction. If this episode gave you something you can't get from a brochure, well, hit like. It tells YouTube to share this episode with more people like you interested in an episode like this. Takes just a second. That's what the RZ told me after a week behind the wheel. Here's what people who live with this RZ every day want you to know before you sign anything. This shares its platform with the Toyota BZ and the Subaru Solterra, and all three have a documented problem where the 12-volt auxiliary battery drains while the car sits. The traction battery can be at 100% and the car won't unlock. The culprit is the digital key system, they say. It polls via Bluetooth constantly and prevents the electronics from sleeping. The most popular fix is a $30 battery monitor from Amazon, which is not what anyone wants to hear when they're buying a luxury EV. It's rated at 229 miles or 366 kilometers of range. Owners of the previous 450e, which had a higher efficiency rating than this car, consistently report range loss in cold weather, which is a common thing with every EV. The 550e's 20-inch wheels and higher output motors suggest the pattern will continue. Regenerative braking resets every time you start the car, which according to owners is irritating. More serious is the app, which owners describe as unreliable, with early 2026 reports of failed Tesla supercharger session starts. The original equipment Dunlop SP Sport Maxx tires are wearing out for some owners in less than 15,000 miles. And don't forget, the staggered sizing means you can't rotate them. A replacement set runs north of $1,500. The most common owner mod is switching them for Michelin Cross Climate 2s, which last 3 to 4 times longer, and owners say they're actually a little quieter. Budget for tires, they're likely to be the biggest recurring cost on this car. The ownership pattern is pretty straightforward. If you lean on public charging, the app, or deep winter use, the friction appears immediately. But if you charge at home, daily drive this, and have a second car in the driveway for long trips, then owners are happy. If you own one of these or have some quality seat time in one of these, let me know in the comments what I got right and what I got wrong, because real-world owner experiences are much more valuable than anything I can learn in a week-long press loan, and I always read those comments. M-Mode's not a gimmick in the traditional sense because it changes how you drive the car. In the corners, it adds rhythm, timing, and consequence. The rest of the RZ remains what it was: quiet, heavy, comfortable, and more resolved than exciting. But for the buyer who thinks most EVs have optimized the engagement out of driving, this is the first luxury brand answer that sounds like it understood the complaint. In the broader context, this is more F-Sport than some other F-Sport models that Lexus sells, and that matters. These excellent seats, the suspension settings, the M-Mode give this a character that the base RZ can never have. But fully resolved is different than groundbreaking, and Lexus chose the former. If you want to set it and forget it luxury EV, well, buy the 350e. But if you miss the idea that your inputs should translate into driving engagement, this might be the first luxury EV SUV that doesn't insult your intelligence. Yes, it's a compromise. So was every manual gearbox. That's the Lexus RZ. Subscribe if you want to see more of these. Comments are open if you disagree. And the merch store is open if you want to help fund more of these. See you on the next one.